And here we are. Do you know that my personal belief is that, excuse me about that, my personal belief is that 200 people, that's just about the amount of people in this room, can change any election in this country. 200 people can make a decision who's going to be governor. 200 people can decide whether I'm going to be your congressman or somebody else is going to be your congressman. 200 people can choose the president of the United States. 200 people, 200 Americans that really, truly believe and embrace the idea that they are the sovereign of this country can change America. 200 people. You will decide whether you're going to be one of those 200 between now and November 2nd. And it's totally your choice, by the way. You get to sit at home and complain. You get to sit at home and say, I can't, I'm just one person. Or you can get to work. And just by the fact that you're here today tells me you're willing to work. And you would come and spend an hour, or however much time this is going today, to spend with me tells me that you really care. And that's really what America's all about. It's about American citizens, the sovereign owners of this country, caring enough that they will go out and do the work necessary to hold and control and manage their country. There's enough people in this room to make a difference. Every single one of you is a sphere of influence. You have friends that are not here and friends that you know, friends that you can influence because they trust you and care about you. Many of them love you. They want to know your opinion, but you must speak out. Sometimes it's hard to speak out in politics because it's always, I want to turn off a friend. I want you to ask this question when you decide that maybe I just ought to stay quiet. I want you to ask this question. How many of you believe that the country we are about to hand off to our children and grandchildren offers more prosperity and a better future than the country we received from our mom and dad? How many of you believe that? Stop. I want everyone to stop. Now look around the room. And not one single hand up. Do you honestly believe that if we were 50 years ago and we asked that question that any hand would be down? Do you honestly believe that the greatest generation, the generation of Americans who went and won World War II without an established military, after being at that generation, millions of Americans who stood up. My grandmother worked at the Schwinn Bicycles Company in Chicago, Illinois in the 1930s during the middle of the Depression. My grandfather had passed away at age 38. She was trying to raise her two daughters. And the Schwinn Bicycle Company was changed into a munitions manufacturing company. And it was women like my grandmother who were working in manufacturing in the 1930s and 1940s who provided the tools necessary for that generation of Americans to win World War II. And with the blood and sweat and tears of those men and women, we bought freedom for the whole world. That's why Tom Brokaw said they're the greatest generation. I wonder what they'll say about us 20, 30, 40 years from now. What will historians say about you? What will historians say about me? What will they call us? I will tell you, if we pass off an America that is less than what we received, it will not be kind, nor should it. You have a chance starting today to write that paragraph, to write that book, to write the next chapter, to put and seal your name on it by what you do. Do you care about the unborn in this country? Stand up for them. Do you care about the economics and the future of your children, your grandchildren? Stand up for them. Do you care about Wisconsin? Stand up for it. Do you care about your future? Stand up for it. Now go stand up and tell people that you're sovereign and you want your country. Thank you.
You couldn't have said that more eloquently, more powerfully. Thank you very much for speaking from the heart. We don't get to hear that very often from elected officials, and now I think for those of you that haven't heard him before, you realize why everybody considers him our true rock star, because he's real, he speaks the truth, and he's just a very good man that's doing a fabulous job representing our voices. The congressman said he has a couple of minutes and he would like to answer a couple of questions. We do have a mic if someone has a question. Rachel? It's on. Okay. Are there any questions for the congressman?
We'll bring a microphone back so everyone can hear.
I'll probably turn pale white now. How does it happen that a Spanish company is given the job of tallying our elected president in this next election when not one on the board is American, and that this company contributed the maximum amount to the Obama campaign?
Yeah, I'm not sure the company you're speaking of or the circumstances. It's illegal in this country for foreigners to contribute to political campaigns in this country. But I will say this, when I get asked questions like this fairly often, the reasons things like this can happen in our system of government is because we don't stop it. And that sounds really kind of almost flippant, but it's true. Until we get outraged enough that we're going to stop something, it will continue. Now, for me, I got outraged enough that I said, you know what? I'm gonna stop doing something I really love, and I'm gonna go do this, which I don't really like that much. I'll just be honest with you. But I'm gonna do this because what I discovered is I love my country and my grandchildren more than I loved my life and my business before. And that's why I ended up doing this. And until the American people decide that they care about something more important than that, and they stop turning an eye to corruption in Washington, D.C. or corruption in Madison, till they stop and demand something better, and that they place men and women in office to fix it, you're going to continue to have that type of problem.
Have you heard of this?
I haven't. No, this is the first time I've heard of it. And so, but I'm happy. And Rick Sense is here. He's my district chief of staff. Some places in the room here. Maybe he went and stepped outside. But we will, if you give us your email address, we'll be happy to do some research and get back with you about it.
Okay, thank you.
Be happy to. And so, and so we'll get back to Kate, let her know. And so, anybody else?
Why is it that some judges are putting the kibosh on voters ID
Yeah.
pictures?
Yeah. Well, there's a, and I will say this. Now, I support voter ID. I want you to know, photo ID. I support that. I want everyone to know that up ahead. There are legitimate arguments against it on the civil libertarian side, and so we've never had to do that before. But the reality is, what the opponents will tell you is that it diminishes the voice of the poor if they don't have the ability to go and get a photo ID, if they don't have the transportation to go get that. There are rural parts of the country where you have people that are both mentally or physically handicapped that can't get to a place to get photo ID taken, and that would be their argument. Now, my response to that is we can find systems and methods to make it simple, easy, fair, and inexpensive and free to make that happen. And so I believe that we need photo ID. I think that's a very small benchmark, a very small hurdle to get over. And the integrity of the U.S. voting system demands it. And so, but not all agree, obviously.
I belong to the Christian Seniors Association and recently got a survey, and my question is, one of the questions they asked is, many citizens may not be aware of our founding fathers provided Article 5 in our Constitution for the American majority to override Congress when necessary. It says 2/3 of the states can call a constitutional convention for the sole purpose of adopting this amendment, and when ratified by 3/4 of the state, it becomes a law of the land, regardless of what politicians want to do. My question is, I'm sure that politicians are aware of this. I wasn't. Is there something going on about this? Is there a way we can start a program to do this?
Yeah, I'll talk about this. You're not the first person that's asked me about it. I personally oppose a constitutional convention, by the way, and I'll explain to you what the risks are. If we hold a constitutional convention, what that means is that the states will send representatives, and they can then, at that convention, make any changes that they choose to the whole document. It's not just putting an amendment, they can rewrite it if a constitutional convention is called. And the risk, given the way our country is so divided, the risks to a constitutional convention are greater than the benefit from my perspective. Instead, what we need to do, for example, I support term limits. I don't know how many of you do. I support term limits. Look at that. If we really want to get term limits, we need to apply pressure and then punish those who oppose it. And that's how you get a constitutional amendment done. And so I've got two potential amendments to the U.S. Constitution that would apply term limits to members of Congress at 12 years for House or Senate. One of them changes the term to 4 years, one leaves it at 2 years. I think Congress would be much more efficient with a 4-year term, because we spend about half the time campaigning and half the time worrying about a campaign. And what we need to do is spend 3/4 of the time doing the work the American people have sent us to. And you fix that by putting the elections between the presidential elections. So the American people, the sovereign of this country, focus on the executive branch, or focus on the legislative branch. And then every 2 years, they still can change course.